Alright, here I am. I'm going to talk about something today, like usual. And today's something is modding. The concept of modding. Now, this might kind of bump into what I said in about ROM hacks in the video I did about that some weeks ago. But I specifically want to keep most of the discussion separate from ROM hacks. So I'm not talking about ROM hacks for like Super Mario World or Super Mario 64 or a Pokemon game. Those are kind of separate in my mind. Where ROM hacks are like complete overhauls, and it's generally like you're playing like a ROM hack, but when you're modding, you're kind of throwing in a bunch of different mods to give you a unique experience. So, specifically talking about modding games, not ROM hacks, and also talking about playing mods, not necessarily creating mods. I don't have any experience creating mods for games. I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe I do, editing some textures here and there, or editing .ini files. Does that count as modding? I don't know. But nothing like creating new models or new experience. I don't have any experience with that. My personal, experience with mods is through playing them, so that's how I'm going to come at this. So I guess when I'm talking about mods, much in the way I talked about ROM hacks, mods can be simple or pretty complex. There's mods for if we're taking Fallout 4, there's mods that just fix bugs in the base game. You can just install a mod to... What was one I installed in the game? There was a perk you had that when you, every now and then, just randomly doing some action will give you a ton of XP. And there's like some percentage chance for that to happen. And whenever that's triggered, whenever you hit that percentage chance, it plays some goofy sound and wacky sound effects. And I didn't like that. That was annoying because it triggered a lot. So there's a mod you can download that just disables that sound. And it's so funny that I thought of that and I'm like, I kind of don't like that. That's annoying. Let me just Google it and see if someone already did make a mod for that and fix it. I don't even have to, I'm sure I could go into the game files and figure out how to delete the sound or replace it with an empty, sound. Sorry, I could go into the files and replace it with an empty sound file or something. But someone already thought of that. And that's great. I love mods that are just weird little fixes for one particular thing. And then of course, it goes up in scale to new weapons, new quests, new characters, new companions to follow you around with. I guess if we're gonna stick with the Fallout 4 example. So there's the base game of Fallout 4, and then you have these silly mods that fix little tiny things, little problems you have with the game. And you can fix that, but you're still getting the majority of the Bethesda Fallout 4 experience. And then if you want to go a little bit further, you can get okay, I've played Fallout 4 a lot, but I'm tired of seeing the same guns everywhere. I'm just going to install 5 mods to see new weapons. Now I'm going to get a mod that has a M4A1 or something. And that's in the game now. And you'll come across enemies that are holding it. And it's not a completely different experience, but it's slightly new. And, replace that with new enemies, and you can slowly make the game a more different experience from the base game. And then you have mods that are just fully off the rails in terms of new content, new dialogue, new everything. And I love the spectrum of anyone can edit the game's files to make a tiny little fix for their little pet problem. But also, you can have full teams and just groups of people that work on one project. And it can become this massive, almost DLC-like experience, maybe even full game experience. It's all done by the fans, and I love that. So I guess to go back to my personal experience with mods, I kind of don't mod a lot. It's weird to think about that because I like mods. I like the concept of mods. And I like seeing a game has mod support. I'm like, wow, it's great to know that any problems I have with the base game, there's probably a mod to fix that. or just thinking about like future content. You know, if I really like this game but I want more, you know, someone's made a new dungeon to go through, something like that. I like the concept of that, but I guess it comes down to this. I like to be familiar with a game before adding complex mods. So complex mods, you know, even less complex stuff like new characters, new weapons. I don't like adding stuff like that. New locations. I don't like adding new content to a game. New fan content to a game. So what is there's like new weapons, new locations, new characters, new just random stuff. I don't like adding things like that when I haven't experienced like the base game. So Fallout 4 recently, I completed Fallout 4 recently for the first time. I played it close to release but I didn't beat it. But this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna beat it. And I did. But when it came time to start that playthrough, I'm like, okay, I know Bethesda games have a lot of modding capabilities. What type of mods would I want to install? So at first I'm like, okay, what are some like bug fixes? What are some light quality of life things I can do? Like like removing that weird sound effect with the perk. But if I'm playing a game for the first time, I don't want to see like weapons and characters and locations that aren't made by the developer of the original game. I want to experience Fallout 4 as Bethesda intends it. I don't want to experience Fallout 4 plus, you know, 10 different mods for weapons and characters. You know, get a companion that's overpowered or something like that. Getting mods for your game, it's like little toppings on top of a base experience. In mods, they add longevity to a game for players familiar with it. So like once I beat the game, you know, once I become familiar with like all the weapons, you know, I've seen most of the stuff, I kind of get a feel for like Fallout 4 as it was made by Bethesda. So I experienced that and I'm like, okay, this is Fallout 4 in my mind. What can I add to it to make it better? To make it different even? I like to have that core understanding of a game before I add some little sprinkles onto it. And it comes down to, I just generally get bored with games after becoming familiar with them. It's like with Fallout 4, I beat the main campaign, and I did a little bit of the DLC, Far Harbor, and I just stopped. I don't know how many hours I had put into it by that time, but I didn't just rush through the main quest. I did a ton of side content. I was exploring vaults and dungeons and building some settlement stuff. But by the time it came, I didn't even get through Far Harbor. It's the first DLC. Or I guess it was the second DLC, technically. Third, I don't know. But I didn't even get it finished with all the content Bethesda had made for Fallout 4 before I got bored. So if it came time to that, if I push through Far Harbor and push through, Nuka World? If I were to start playing that today and, just chug through that, I'm not going to want to play anymore. Just a couple new weapons and locations, that's not going to do anything for me. I don't want to see all the remaining weapons and locations in the base game. Why would I care about what some fan does? Now, that's not to, discredit the work they do. There's a lot of great, weapon mods and location stuff. Quests. I'm done with Fallout 4. I don't want to see any more of that game. So whenever it comes time to, really dig into like the modding scene for a game and just find out like, okay, what is the best the modding community has to offer for Fallout 4? I don't want to see any of that. I'm done with the game. So yeah, while I love the concept of mods, and like these crazy complex mods where it's new locations and quest lines, while I love that people are doing that, I just generally don't experience it myself. Yeah, it's not a fault of any of them, it's just, if I'm bored of the game, I'm bored of the game. What more is there to it? I guess to really hone in on like the ambition of the modders, that's crazy to me. There are so many mods that just have like huge teams and they're such big projects. And modders, they're so ambitious that it just blows my mind. I wrote down specifically, Tamriel Rebuilt. I'm pretty sure this is the right one. There's 2 Morrowind mods that do kind of the same thing. If this is the one I'm thinking of, Tamriel Rebuilt, I guess to give context, Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Morrowind is the name of a province in Tamriel, but Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, that doesn't cover all of Morrowind. It just covers like one island of the province. And Tamriel Rebuilt, it seeks to reimagine the whole island, or the... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Tamriel Rebuilt seeks to reimagine the whole province of Morrowind. So while Bethesda, they made a simple little island of Morrowind, Tamriel Rebuilt wants to remake the whole province surrounding the island. Not all of Tamriel. I think that was maybe their goal at some point, but they reined it back. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know much about the history of it. I know it's been around since, I think before Morrowind even came out, this mod's been worked on. I guess it probably couldn't have been worked on before the game came out. Maybe they were just okay, we're gonna do this as a mod for the game. We're gonna make all the stuff that Bethesda didn't do. And they've been chugging away at that for, gosh, what's it been? Morrowind came out in the early 2000s? It's been 20 years-ish, give or take. Tamriel Rebuilt's been worked on. And that's mind-blowing to me. Now, admittedly, it's not like one person, chugging away doing location, in order. It's a community effort of people taking claims of the province where they're like, okay, I'm gonna work on this area. I'm gonna do the quests, I'm gonna do the location design. You can claim different parts, I think. But it's all around a community claiming what parts they want to work on. So it's not really focused in a way if it was a smaller team of or even just one person, they can really focus and work on specific things. But with the community aspect of it, it's kind of spread out. So you can download Tamriel Rebuilt right now, but I don't know quite how they handle it, but you can go to certain sections of the map and it'll just be a fully developed town. But I'm imagining there's some parts of the world map where it's just empty space of some landscape. But occasionally, you'll walk far enough and you see some fully developed town that someone spent, hundreds of hours on, and then right outside of the city limits, it's some area nobody's touched. It's a lot less focused than a single team project. But I just love the sheer ambition of it. It's yeah, we're gonna take this huge landmass and make it all playable. Make it all to the level of detail of the base game of Morrowind. That game's dense. And the game map is deceptively small in the base game. So everything is really dense, and they're trying to expand that density to the whole province, and that's crazy to me. It's crazy. I guess kind of riding off the coattails of that, there's a lot of mods for Bethesda games that implement a Bethesda game into another. So what is there? I feel like there's so many different combinations for okay, we're going to put Morrowind into Skyrim, we're going to put Morrowind into Oblivion, we're going to put Oblivion into Skyrim. There's so many different different projects working on putting the same game into different engines or different iterations of the same engine at different points of their life. And that's another thing where it's just yeah, I gotta applaud the effort. But also would I personally want to play Oblivion in Skyrim? I don't know. I guess I'm not a huge Oblivion fan, so maybe that doesn't matter as much to me. But beyond my own personal desires, I think it's incredibly admirable that these people work on projects that are so big and they have such a scale. It's admirable. Call it there. So I guess I'll spend some time talking about mods I like. So that was something I knew I wanted to talk about when I was, doing an outline for this episode. I just wrote mods I like. And then I hit tab and I'm okay, what mods do I like? And I had a hard time thinking of some, specifically of big mods that I could get into. Because as I said, if I play I keep going back to Bethesda games because Bethesda is synonymous with modding for me, in my mind. But I don't mod Bethesda games too much. Like I said, I only get into like the big mods for a game, after I've become familiar with it and beat it and just know everything that's in the base game, and I don't really play them like that. I play the base game and I'm satisfied. Play all the DLC and I'm satisfied with that. I don't really have that desire to get more. I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done playing New Vegas. I don't need any more. Yeah, I guess I just do small quality of life stuff like the removing the sound for the perk that gives you XP for doing random stuff in Fallout 4. That's usually the type of quality of life mods I do when I'm playing a game, for the first time at least. Because even with quality of life mods, I try to at least give the full base game a chance. And then it's like, okay, this little thing annoys me, I'll get this. I don't try to do some big, like, quality of life mod pack. I like to pick and choose what I fix. I love mods. Now this I know. I love mods that combine similar games into one experience. I guess to give an example, Tale of Two Wastelands. That's a mod for Fallout New Vegas. I think it's for New Vegas. But it takes the game of Fallout New Vegas and it adds everything from Fallout 3, and you get to play it in New Vegas. So there's these two games existing in one game you can just run. Now, of course, they're separated into, like, I forget how you travel exactly between the Capital Wasteland and the Mojave. I think there's like a train that takes you from place to place. But it's so cool to me that, you can make one character, the courier, you're a character you create in New Vegas. They can travel to Fallout 3. Or do you start in Fallout 3? In that mod? I think you might start in Fallout 3. So you start as a kid in the vault in Fallout 3. And, you go through the whole growing up process of the intro. And then once you exit the vault, you could just beeline it straight to the train to take you to New Vegas. I think that's awesome. I love the fact that you could just hunker down, you got your one character, and you get so accustomed to them. And you play both of these games for like 200 plus hours, 300 hours. I haven't played it, but I know there's a Stalker mod for the Stalker series that adds, is it 3 games? It adds the 3 games into one, like, world. And while the Stalker original games, they have a story, I'm pretty sure there's one that combines all 3 games into one experience. It's like a sandbox. So you just get to, walk around the world and you get to roleplay a bit. That's cool. It kind of shifts it from like, okay, I'm this guy, and this is my place in the story, and this is where I'm gonna go. There's dialogue and quests and all that. It shifts it to like, okay, you're just a random guy in this world map. And you choose what you do. You choose who you are. And there's all this content and locations for you to explore. I think that's so cool. And then the last one I could think of, I'm sure there's other, combination mods, but I just couldn't think of any others. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. There's a mod that links those 2 games together. So I'm pretty sure Baldur's Gate 2 has an option where you could import your character from the first game. But there's this mod that allows you to start in Baldur's Gate 1, play all the way through it, and then as soon as the first game ends, you're put into the second game at the start of that. Now, I don't know what the intricacies of, like, do you keep your levels? Do you keep all your items? What's the balance like going into the second game, considering you played through all the first... I don't know. I don't know what all that's like. I guess just in concept, I think that's such a cool idea. Maybe mods like this in practice aren't too good. I've played a fair bit of Tale of Two Wastelands, but when I played that, I mostly just played Fallout 3. I never got to the part where I jumped over to New Vegas. What's that like when you put 200 hours into the game and you've hit max level? Is there a max level? I know New Vegas has a level cap of 50. Is there a level cap in Tale of Two Wastelands? If there's the perks from Fallout 3 and New Vegas, there's no way you're getting all those. I don't even think you can get all the perks from either 3 or New Vegas. So yeah, I don't know what the balance is like in the Stalker mod or the Baldur's Gate mod, but conceptually I love that. And then I guess to talk about, the smaller mods. That's the stuff that I do. That's what I stick with. Magic storage in Terraria. That's such a simple thing, but it fixes like my main problem with Terraria. And it's not even a problem really, it's just like what I don't like about the game. I don't like dealing with chests. I don't like having huge lines of chests where it's like, okay, this is the building blocks chest, this is the accessories chest, this is the weapons chest. Magic storage, it's basically just like, it's just like a hard drive where you drop all your items into one chest, and it gives you like a UI where you can sort through them and search. It makes it so I can focus on the parts of the game that I like, which is the crafting and the exploration. I don't really like building in Terraria. So I don't have to build these huge storage rooms. I can just put down, the drive access thing. I can put down a bunch of storage expanders, and that's my storage system all dealt with. And once I'm able to upgrade it, I get to add even more space. Whenever I'm playing Terraria modded, that's a necessity. And probably the smallest mod I always install when I play this one game, but it's so crucial to me, is, the mod names have changed throughout the years and there's different ones, but when I play Minecraft, I always install a mod that allows me to chop down a whole tree just by hitting one block. I always hated in Minecraft. There's these huge 2x2 trees, and you make a spiral staircase going up it, and then you get to the top, and then you gotta go back down getting the other blocks. Where if you install this tree chopper mod, you just break one block, and this whole jungle tree comes falling down, and there's, 2 stacks of wood blocks. That's just so satisfying. And yeah, it breaks the balance. It's so much easier to get wood that way. The game's balanced around you, slowly getting the wood yourself. But man, that's just the quality of life thing I can't play the game without. I kind of feel bad, because it's hard to play the game without it. But, in my ideal world, that's how I play it. Now, to broaden back out a bit, it's kind of sad that games don't support mods these days. I guess that kind of ties into, like, the whole concept of community support on PC games kind of dying as a whole. Like with community servers, for instance. Games are kind of getting away from, community-run servers. What is it? Like in TF2. In TF2, Team Fortress 2, you can spin up your own community server on your own computer if you wanted to. Or you could host it on some cloud service. But also, there's Valve's central servers where you could play casual or competitive. And it does the matchmaking for you, it puts people against equal skill levels and all that. That's what games gravitate to nowadays. Call of Duty, at some point in its life, it had dedicated servers where you could just join. You could go on the server list and see, oh, this server has 20 out of 24 players. I'll join right now. But nowadays, it's just like, you hit play game, and it says, searching for match. And then you're put into a match. Game developers don't like giving the players control so much these days. They like to really, have an iron grip on like, this is how you can experience our game. They'll make it so you can only play this game mode for a limited time, but once that time's up, it's gone forever. It feels so locked down playing these games these days. Playing Overwatch and playing TF2, it's like a different experience. Of course, they're different games and all that, but it's just like the way the community is embraced. Feels different. I guess there is a server browser in Overwatch. I don't know if there is an Overwatch 2. I thought I heard that the custom games browser it wasn't in there at launch. But even then, how that's framed, the custom games browser, I think that was what it was called. Something like that. But it makes it seem like it's just for like, weird fun games where you're playing hide and seek or whatever. But in TF2, community servers, it's just like, I go on this server and I play Control Plane, I play Payload. You had these homes for like groups of people where they'd come to, and oh my gosh, I'm not talking about mods anymore. I'm talking about community server. Maybe that's a topic for a whole other video. But mods, that kind of fits into that basket of like, the developers have a way they want you to play their game. They have a way they want you to interact with it. They don't want you adding your own custom skins. How are they going to sell you skins if you can make your own? That was something TF2 actually had to deal with a while back. Since the game was released, you could make custom skins for your gun. You could just go into the game's files and edit the texture for the scatter gun and make it look like whatever you wanted. You could even do a custom model for the gun. And nowadays you can still do that, but even back then, whenever you edited that texture, other people couldn't see it. Only you could see it, client side. That texture wasn't sent to the server. So that's what modding was about, I guess. That's what it's still about. It's customizing your own experience. And with skins, if you buy a skin in the shop, you buy a hat in the shop, other people get to see that hat. And that's part of the fun. I remember, gosh, back when I was playing TF2 when I was younger, I would install some custom mods for like the scatter gun or the rocket launcher for the soldier. And it was satisfying having my own rocket launcher. I knew other people, they wouldn't see it. They just see me holding the stock rocket launcher. But when I'm playing, I know that I have a special version that's specific to me. But nowadays, you can't even do that. Or maybe you can, but it's a lot. People don't care about that. If they have a custom model for the rocket launcher, they want other people to see it. They want people to see their specific skin. And I guess it comes down to, it's harder to sell, content when players can add content so easily themselves. I guess it's somewhat understandable, this hesitancy to allow players to like edit the game's files when there's so much like online connectivity in a game. Blizzard has such a specific idea of what Overwatch is, and they developed it in that image. And then, if they wanted to add modding, they'd have to go back and like do so much work to you retrofit the existing content into that framework. And maybe they want to do that, maybe they don't, but it's a lot of effort either way. And they're just not going to do that. Like Destiny 2. How do you mod Destiny 2? That's a game that so heavily relies on like an internet connection. And you get the content from the game server. So many games are like MMOs these days, where you can do some mods for MMOs, but they don't want you doing too much, or else you risk getting into cheating. So they want it locked down. They want you playing the game the way they intended. And maybe there's a whole other video for unnecessary online connections in a game. Maybe that's a discussion for another day. But in terms of modding, games going more online has sucked for that. That being said, modders still found a way. Games are still being modded. Even ones that don't, officially support it. It's rare for anything like a Valve game or a Bethesda game to embrace modding like they did. But people still make mods for games. Sonic Frontiers, that came out like, a couple months ago? And people are making mods for that. You can play as Rick from Kirby in Sonic Frontiers. Need I say any more? I needn't. So, yeah, that's it sucks that the industry has kind of gone away from modding, but people still find a way to make mods for games they like. The new Spider-Man games. That to me that doesn't strike me as a game that would be modded, but I'm sure people are out there making their own suits for the game, and that's cool. Good for them. All right, well that's it for this episode. As always, leave a comment suggesting a topic for a future video. And I guess that's all. See you next time, I guess.